Hello everyone and welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the MLB DFS Core Pick video for Tuesday, August 12th. If you're joining me for the very first time, first of all, welcome in. Second of all, this is how today's video will be structured. We'll be going over my core picks. It's going to be 5 players in total, which is going to be 1 pitcher, and 4 hitters. That's going to be based on a combination of past performance versus their respective opponent, as well as some recent history. And then after that, we'll get moved over to my cheat sheet and talk through my top GPP teams to stack for Tuesday's slate overall. In the morning, I'll be listing my early morning weather report. They have any game that does have a double-digit chance of rain or higher. And then I'll also be posting as many of these starting lineups as I can get to throughout the afternoon and early evening. So definitely make sure that you are checking up down in that comment section so that you do have the most up-to-date and relevant information as possible. But without further ado, we'll get right into the core picks. We're going to start off at that pitcher position with Jack Flaherty of the Detroit Tigers. He's at $9,600, averaging just over 30 fantasy points per game on the season. Goes against Chicago White Sox. He has really good history versus them in the past. He has 2 starts versus them so far this season where he had 37 and 41 points. 2 starts versus them last season where he had 44 and 40 points. So 3 out of the 4 starts in the last 2 years, he's had at least 40 points. So it looks like a really good value overall at $9,600. And then if we take a look at what he's done so far in the season, kind of been a hit or miss year for him. He's got 6 wins in total, and his ERA sits at 4.56 at this point in time. So that's kind of part of the hit or miss there. He's had some really good starts. He's had some mediocre starts, but versus the Chicago White Sox in his career, he's fared very, very well. So banking on that upside out of him once again, and he's currently averaging just over 30 fantasy points per game at $9,600. If you don't want to play him at your pitcher position, there are a few different options out there at the same time as well. But with that being said, we'll get moved down to our hitters, and we're going to start off at first base for Freddie Freeman. He's $3,400, and he's averaging just under 11 fantasy points per game on the season. He's going against Los Angeles Angels. Tyler Alexander is the expected starting pitcher for them, and he is 5 for 13 with 1 home run versus Tyler Alexander in his career. He's got at least 1 hit in 3 out of his last 4 games. That doesn't include Monday night, since that game has yet to take place at the time of this recording. If you go a little bit further back, he's got at least 1 hit in 10 out of his last 12 games, so been doing pretty well as of late. If we go back to the last 4 games, though, 1 multi-game, 1 home run, 1 double-digit performance, but 3 games of 9 fantasy points or higher, so relatively safe floor out of Freddie Freeman as of late, but does come with some potential upside at the same time as well. And with that being said, he was actually my last pick for the core picks today. So if I'm being completely honest, I was debating between him, Max Muncy or Mookie Betts. All 3 look like great options. Definitely like all 3 in a Dodgers stack, and Shohei Ohtani definitely fits the bill for that stack as well. And then with that being said, if we look at what Freddie Freeman's been able to do so far in the season, 308 batting average, 14 home runs, 66 RBIs. Once again, average about 11 fantasy points per game at $3,400. Then we're going to move down to shortstop with Corey Seager. He has a very attractive price tag of $3,100, averaging just under 11 fantasy points per game on the season. Going against the Arizona Diamondbacks, Anthony DeSclafani is the expected starting pitcher for them. He is 4 for 8 with 1 home run in his career versus Anthony DeSclafani. And if we look at what Corey Seager's been able to do as of late, he's got at least 1 hit in 4 out of his last 5 games. He did get a hit on Monday, so I'm going to include that in there, although we don't have the final performance for that. But he has 3 multi-hit games, 1 home run, 2 double-digit performances, and 3 games of at least 9 fantasy points or higher. So been doing really well as of late. If we look at what he's done so far in the season, 262 batting average, 17 home runs, 41 RBIs, once again averaging just under 11 fantasy points per game at $3,100. Then we're going to move down to the outfield. We're going to start off with Brian Reynolds, who we talked about in yesterday's video. He was expected to go against Freddie Peralta on Monday, and fortunately that is happening on Tuesday now, since Jose Quintana got bumped up for the Monday start, and then Freddie Peralta got bumped back to Tuesday. So if you watch yesterday's video, it's going to be pretty much a duplicate of what I said yesterday, but with that being said, I will repeat it once again. So Brian Reynolds is 14 for 38 with 1 home run in his career versus Freddie Peralta. Some pretty good history there. He has at least 1 hit in 4 out of his last 5 games. That does include Monday, which that game was still going on at the time of this recording. He has 3 multi-hit games, 1 home run, and 3 double-digit performances during that time span. So he's been doing pretty good once again. If we look at what he's been doing so far in the season, the batting average is up to 241 now, and he has 11 home runs, 56 RBIs, once again averaging just under 9 fantasy points per game at $2,900. And then last but not least, in our outfield spot, we're going to go with Jock Peterson. This is probably one that might be a little controversial, but if you look at some of the numbers past what he's done in totality on the season, it makes a lot of sense. So he's at $2,300, averaging 5 fantasy points per game on the season. Obviously, he had a very, very rough start to the season. He's been banged up, part-time player, so that is going to affect his value just a little bit in terms of that fantasy points per game. But with all that being said, he's going against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Anthony DeSclafani is the expected starting pitcher for them. He is a right-handed pitcher. Jack Peterson, obviously, is somebody that does better versus right-handed pitching, and he's 9 for 19 with 4 home runs versus Anthony DeSclafani in his career. So some really good history there. If we look at what Jack Peterson's done as of late, he did start on Monday, so that game is not yet concluded, so not going to include that one in this, but in his last 4 starts, he has at least 1 hit in 3 out of those games, 1 multi-hit game during that time span, 1 home run, and 3 double-digit performances. So if we look at what he's done just based on the games that he started as of late, it's been really good. So he looks like a really good value option overall. I understand there is some risk there, so if you don't want to play him, definitely does make some sense. But at the same time, willing to bet on that upside with Jack Peterson, especially if we're going out and playing a Ranger stack just in general. If we look at what he's done so far in the season in totality, I get it. It doesn't look great. 148 batting average, 4 home runs, 9 RBIs. Averaging 5 fantasy points per game at $2,300. Like I did mention, had that awful start to the season. Then he's been kind of banged up here and there. Obviously, part-time player, so that will affect his numbers just a little bit, but is a guy that does hit right-handed pitching very well and has really good track record versus Anthony DeSclafani in the past. But with that being said, if you go with the 5 players that I do currently have listed here, you have $13,700 remaining. Just over $3,400 remaining per player. So I like into Jack Flaherty. I like into the Dodgers stack. I like into the Texas Rangers stack. If you can combine all 3 of those things, I think it's going to make for a very good lineup overall. But at the same time, it is a 12-game main slate, so definitely feel free to mix the matches you do see fit. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to my cheat sheet and talk about my top GPP teams to stack for Tuesday overall. So we're going to start off with the Los Angeles Dodgers. They're going against Tyler Alexander. I definitely like getting to them, whether that is Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Max Muncy, Shohei Ohtani, Andy Pajes. All 5 of those guys look really good overall, so probably cycle through the 5 of them, playing for them since that's the max that you can play on FanDuel. Then we got the St. Louis Cardinals going against Kyle Freeland. Not a long list history there, but some pretty decent history at that. Then we have the New York Yankees. They're either going against Thomas Hatch or Pearson Ole. If it's Pearson Ole, they got no history versus him in the past. If it's Thomas Hatch, very limited history versus him in the past. The 3 guys that do have hits versus Thomas Hatch in the past are going to be Aaron Judge, Anthony Volpe, and Cody Bellinger. And then we have the Texas Rangers going against Anthony DeSclafani. Not like the longest list in history versus him. It's mainly Corey Seager and Jack Peterson that have that long list history. But Marcus Semien also does have a hit versus him as well. But definitely do like the upside of that Rangers lineup just in general. But with that being said, these are my core picks as well as top GPP teams to stack for Tuesday, August 12th. As always, if you have any questions related to MLB DFS, be sure to drop them down in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. And then once again in the morning, I'll be listing my early morning weather report. They have any game that does have a double-digit chance of rain or higher. And then I'll also be listing as many of these starting lineups as I can get to throughout the afternoon and early evening. So definitely I'll look out for all that information down in the comment section. But with that being said, if you're brand new to my channel, checking it out for the very first time, or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. It helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now we have MLB DFS in terms of the core pick videos, typically Monday through Friday. This week there will not be one on Thursday. Do apologize for that. Thursday's just been kind of that weird, smaller slate just in general, so a little bit harder to do for the core pick videos as well as the cheat sheets, but we'll have my MLB DFS notes up for free over on the Patreon page. And then I do have my CFL DFS video coming out once a week that typically gets posted up on Wednesday, so definitely feel free to check that out if that's something you're interested in as well. And then last but not least, if you're interested in sports betting, if you're interested in prop betting, be sure to check out the links and promo codes down in the description below for BetUS and PrizePicks. If you're a brand new user to either one of those sites, when you sign up, make your initial deposit, you will get a first match deposit bonus. For PrizePicks, it's 100% match up to $100, and then for BetUS, it's 125% match up to $2,000. So some pretty great opportunities to be had out there. If you have any other additional questions related to that whatsoever, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's down in the comment section of this video or on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport, and be more than happy to help you with that journey as well. But with that being said, that's all that I truly have for today's video. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in MLB DFS for Tuesday, August 12th.